All right, you guys, happy Tuesday. Sorry we are running a few minutes late. It takes so much time to investigate. We are such a small team, and we're constantly trying to make sure we're giving you guys the most accurate information. And you know, it suddenly occurred to me after last week that I should maybe go back and find all of the original videos that were going viral on social media on 9/10. You know, all the videos pertaining to the assassination, the people that were providing testimony as to what happened. And immediately we started to notice a pattern. We noticed that a lot of the eyewitnesses and the people that were sharing those videos weren't exactly random college students from UVU, but rather people that either had strong ties to the government or to Turning Point USA altogether. So what gives? Also later on, we're going to discuss Andrew Colvett, the PR agent, close friend of Charlie Kirk, who sat down with Alex Clark to answer questions pertaining to whether or not Charlie Kirk was converting to Catholicism and whether or not he was offered $150 million from Israel. Except I literally do not know who said either of those things, but we'll see how he responded. Anyway, welcome back to Candace. A couple of things that I want to say at the top to help focus some of these investigations that are going on. So many people that are sending us emails, and I see a lot of the chatter that's happening. First and foremost, no, Charlie was not wearing an earpiece. He was not wearing an earpiece. I saw some of that earlier footage and it looked like he was. And I was able to verify that actually what people think is an earpiece that's coming up is actually the necklace that he was wearing. I also want you guys to know that he was not wearing a bulletproof vest. I was able to verify that, and there does seem to be a backstory there. Somebody that had reached out who had been providing vests for Charlie and then no longer was providing vests for him. We're looking into that, but I wanted you to know those two facts. All right, now jumping into what I wanted to discuss today. We thought we should go back and re-examine all of the witnesses, okay? The people who spoke out to the press in the immediate aftermath of the killing. Obviously, that's what brought us to Caldera Engineering, the man who owned a couple of houses on that block. And we found out that Caldera Engineering, a lot of the employees live on that block. And then, of course, I want to be clear, it doesn't make these people guilty of anything. But I thought it was interesting that I kept seeing this theme that none of these individuals were students of UVU. Like, I guess that's just coincidental. Just to go back, we had already discussed Tiffany Barker and that early morning GMA interview, Good Morning America interview that she did with her nieces. So I'm going to show you that again to jog your memory because we have an update. Take a listen.
We're joined now by Tiffany Barker and her nieces Elle Steele and Mia Grant, who were all in the audience yesterday afternoon. Thank you for joining us this morning. I know it's been a difficult day for all of you right now. And Tiffany, let me begin with you. Just tell us what you remember about the scene yesterday.
It was horrific. There was one shot that rang out, and everybody instantly looked around and then fell to the ground. People saw Charlie instantly get shot in the neck, and everybody fell to the ground, and then people started running and got run over. And I was with my family. We had 16 of us there. So 5 adults and like 11 children. And we instantly got separated. We're trying to find everybody. And we had amazing Good Samaritans that grabbed kids. One took my niece and took her to her apartment. Somebody grabbed these two and my daughter and took them over to the tennis courts and stayed with them until I came. It was a super awful tragedy, and there were really good people that stood up and supported each other, and it was actually really powerful to see that.
Elle and Mia, I can't imagine how scared you must have been yesterday. What can you tell us about what you all remember? Elle, you go first.
So I remember hearing this thing. It was hard to know what it was, but then I saw it, and I saw blood everywhere, and it hit his artery, and then I fell to the ground. I covered my head with my hands, and then I just started saying a prayer, and then we all ran we sprinted away, and we ran away and then we met at the tennis courts, and then we couldn't find anyone. It was just me, Mia, and then my other cousin Bella, and then we were calling everyone. We didn't know what to do, and then we finally met up with them, and it was just so scary.
I'm sure. Mia?
I remember that we were like 15 feet away, and I thought like the shot was like a firecracker or something. It just didn't seem real. After that, we went like behind where Charlie Kirk was, and then we were meeting up at the tennis courts and trying to find everyone and get everyone together. And Charlie Kirk was such a good guy. I'm gonna miss him so much. I've always watched all of his videos, and
I can't imagine what you all went through.
America's gonna miss Charlie Kirk.
Can't imagine what you went through yesterday. Thanks for sharing your stories this morning.
Okay, so to update you and to remind you, I had mentioned that first and foremost, Tiffany Barker is a part of a very political family, a very connected family in the region. The internet sleuths just were on it. Apparently, there's a whole Reddit feed, and they were able to determine that not only is she connected to a big political family that is high up in the LDS church, but she also forgot to mention, and maybe there wasn't time to mention, to be fair, that they knew Charlie, that the daughter had sung at Charlie Kirk's event. So it would have been something that I think I would have said, but again, sort of in the chaos, maybe in the next morning while the manhunt is going on, and in this sort of short stint of speaking to Good Morning America, you didn't have time to give those details. Now, many people were curious mainly as to why the children were so descriptive regarding the artery. And Tiffany herself made a response video and addressed that question. And here is what she had to say.
When we get in the car, we're stuck in the parking lot for like an hour and a half. My niece that was sitting right behind me in this car filmed Charlie getting shot. She was filming him speaking, and then she said, "Tiff, I have it on video." And I said, "Give me your phone. I don't want you to watch it. Give me the phone." So I took her phone, and the kids in the car with me, because they were closer down by my sister, had seen it really close up. And they saw how much Charlie bled. And we're all trying to process that. So I have an hour and a half in a car with my nieces and my two daughters, and I'm trying to help them through what we just saw. And they said, "Why did he bleed like that?" And I said, "There's an artery here. Maybe they hit an artery." I didn't know. We didn't know anything, and we're trying to get information. And then I get one text come in and said, "Glenn Beck said he's stable." And I told the kids, "You guys okay? He's okay." They're taking turns praying for him.
So I connected with her after she made this video, and I wanted to specifically confirm and clarify two things. Again, not because I think her or her nieces had anything to do with the assassination, but because they were eyewitnesses. And I first and foremost wanted to know why Good Morning America reached out with them. It didn't seem to me that any of the videos she put out would have inspired a producer to reach out and say, "Hey, can you be our eyewitness, provide eyewitness testimony to what took place?" And she intimated to me that actually it was a political connection. That was the reason it happened. Her sister ran as lieutenant governor alongside Phil Lehman. And actually, Good Morning America reached out to Phil Lehman, and somehow that is how, instead of Phil Lehman or her sister, they ended up with her sister's children and her, because they were at the event. Now, regarding her, obviously you heard her explanation for why they mentioned the artery. I wanted to see if they even recorded that footage of Charlie, or if they were close enough to see that. And my answer to that would be no, on the basis of the footage that she gave me. She has not yet provided any footage that would suggest that her nieces saw that graphic or were able, anything that was that descriptive. I think this might have been just a little bit of like political insertion, so to speak. Either way, I will say that any kids being anywhere where a shot is ringing out is going to be traumatizing to a child. And of course, she is being honest that through discussion, she is the one that kind of gave them the idea regarding the artery. But then I decided to take a look, or just including this, I was simultaneously taking a look at George Zinn. Obviously, I wanted to track down George Zinn, because where was Decoy Boy sitting? Where exactly was he arrested? And I was able to discover something that I found to be quite odd. George Zinn was arrested in the same area, almost in the exact spot where Charlie's SUV departs. Which to me, if you think somebody is the killer, you probably wouldn't send them in the direction of someone that they just shot. So I wanted to sort of prod that narrative a little bit further. So first, I want you guys, in case you don't understand the layout of this particular, if we're calling it a stadium, that he was sitting, amphitheater that Charlie was sitting, there is a tent, okay? And we're coming inward here. You can see that kind of half hexagon that's sitting there. Where that dot is where Charlie is sitting. And you can see there's like a bridge walkway. And Charlie has to walk underneath that to get to where his cars are, okay? So in front of him is the audience in that half hexagon. And yep, we're coming inward right there, where you can see the mouse pointing right there is where the SUVs were waiting, the SUV that carried Charlie. So they just went backwards from where the tent was, okay? And that underpass is right here. You can see a clear image of it, and you can actually see now we're in that underpass we are kind of where that SUV was, and you can see the back of the tent that Charlie was in. We were able to determine that it was approximately 40 seconds from the time that the shot rang off to when the security brings Charlie into the waiting SUV. So they moved very quickly from shot to getting him into the SUV, obviously trying to save his life. Then approximately just 1 minute and 8 seconds later, George Zinn is brought to that exact same territory. So Charlie departs, and about 1 minute and 8 seconds later, we've got George Zinn, and he is in handcuffs. And when I say 1 minute and 8 seconds, I'm building in extra seconds. I'm trying to be as precise as possible. I am counting and I'm watching everything. But I found it, again, odd that George Zinn is arrested in the exact same area that they just took Charlie. And it's fast, right? And it's especially fast because we then found footage of George Zinn after the shot rings out. And we're going to watch this. He's going to get up, and people are dispersing everywhere. And he kind of calmly gets up and starts making his way down that stadium. You can see that here. We have the light on him, and his pants fall down by themselves. You can see that his pants did not, like, we were kind of working under the assumption that his pants fell down because, I don't know, the police were pulling him, but that's actually incorrect. They just fall down all by themselves, and you can see that a young man comes by to try to assist him. Okay, so has nothing to do with the arrest. Now, to be clear, when we see him sort of making his way down those stairs, we can actually approximate, because we did, like I said, we're counting seconds, that this happens earliest 30 seconds after the shot is fired, okay? And this clip, that clip that you just watched, is about 20 seconds long. So it's about a full 50 seconds, and we know that George Zinn is still standing right there, okay? So somehow George Zinn needs to get from where you just saw him, where his pants fall, to handcuffs in the SUV zone in about 40 seconds flat. Again, that's very fast. We were able to find the footage of him walking down. He just walks down like you see him. He just is walking down the stairs, and he has his hat in his hand, and he starts waving, and he's going toward the left side of the tent. If you're behind the tent looking forward, like if you have Charlie's view, he is then going to kind of go down, and he walks to the left side of the tent. So I wanted to show you this like second timeline that I put together, because this just lets you know what happens in the immediate aftermath. Charlie, Skylar, I'm not sure if I told you to pull that. Can you see that little timeline that we have? Yeah, no worries. I'll give you a couple of seconds, but we have, Charlie gets shot 40 seconds later. Charlie's brought to the SUV. 10 seconds after that is where George Zinn's pants fall down in the middle of the departing crowd. And then 1 minute and 15 seconds after that shot rings out, George Zinn is waving his hat near the left side of the tent. And then at the minute 48 second mark, George Zinn is in handcuffs, and he is being pulled near where Charlie's SUV has just departed. It's very quick. Okay. All of this takes place in under 2 minutes. Not the vibe that I got, obviously, when you are behind your cell phone and you're getting all of these updates and you're trying to follow all the X accounts to see who has the newest information. I certainly was not under the impression that all took place in just 2 minutes. So then that photo starts circulating online. You know which photo I'm talking about. It's George Zinn, and he's bent down and he is in handcuffs, and that goes viral. And so I wanted to get to the bottom of that. Who actually shared that photo of George Zinn in handcuffs? And I was able to determine that that was somebody who lived in Utah who advertises with Turning Point USA. And when he did some press about it, he didn't mention that connection to Turning Point USA, but he for sure advertises with them or has advertised in the past. Again, things are moving unbelievably quickly, and I have now watched that footage from many angles. And there's another thing that happens in the immediate aftermath that stands out to me. There is what I assume must be a donor, a sponsor of some description, or an employee of a donor / sponsor. And he tries to get close to Charlie after the shots are fired, but not in like a rescue way. There was already like a team of men that fly in. And then he gets there, and I'm not sure what the intention is. I don't know if it's just like, obviously you're shocked. Maybe you're trying to be helpful. Who knows? The security guard just kind of shoos him away immediately. And then what the guy does is he sort of just stands up and he takes out, walks to the side and takes out his cell phone. So I'm going to show you that. He's right there in the blue shirt. And he sends a text as I'm watching the footage. It goes on a little bit longer, sends a text, takes a photo. Not entirely clear what's being done there, but it just sort of stood out to me in the middle of the chaos, seeing that. And I would really like to know who that is, because we had received a ton of messages from current employees at Turning Point that had mentioned that company. He's wearing a shirt that says Wi-Fi. And according to the sources at Turning Point, it was a rather young company, meaning that the company hasn't been around for very long, that came out in a really big way in terms of sponsorship for this tour. And that's common sense, given the fact that Wi-Fi, you will notice in the clips of the event, is the backdrop advertiser that's behind Charlie. So maybe this person came because it's his first event of the season and they are the major sponsors. Like I said, judging by the placement and the fact that a Wi-Fi donor or employee is there, we can draw the conclusion that they sponsored this very event. And I'm interested in knowing who that is. So if you've got any answers for that, please let me know, because I would like to see what he took a picture of and to get his perspective on things. Certainly would like to identify who that individual is. I then decided to try to track down the origin of a video that actually no press has been done on. There was the video of I assumed it was a student, and I think, we shouldn't make assumptions, who recorded the shooter on the roof. Remember? That started going viral. You remember the footage, and and there's a guy that's kind of speaking in the background. We can show you that footage right now. Let's take a look at that footage that we're referring to.
Getting right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying.
Huh.
He just ran from over, where's my finger? Well, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying.
Okay. So this footage proved very difficult to track down. And what I mean by that is it was very simple for me to find the account that published the video and made the video viral. And when I reached out to that individual, they were immediately responsive. And I said, hey, where'd you get this footage from? And the individual said to me, a friend of a friend's family member sent it. So I'm like, okay, you're telling me the chain is already twice removed. I said, do you know who took the video? And he said, no, I don't know who took the video. And when I asked the person who sent it to me to tell me who did, because I have all of these journalists, including yourself, reaching out to me, trying to get to the bottom of it, he just stopped answering me. I said, so your friend who sent you this video just stops answering you? And he then sends me a screenshot of a conversation that they're having on an app that I don't recognize, right? So we are prodding that, and he has been responsive, so I'm sure he'll tell me what app this is. And sure enough, the person says, well, there were 2 people actually who took that footage, which obviously isn't possible, but there are 2 people that were involved in taking that footage, and he sends him 2 numbers. And those 2 numbers were both Chicago-based. And when I looked up who, whose numbers those were, it looked to me like that was just kind of leading to nowhere. Like, why are these 2 Chicago-based numbers? It was very weird and very sketchy. So then I have a guy who's on the ground in Utah, and I asked him, a student, to start looking around, fishing around, and seeing if he could figure out who took that photo. Again, operating under the assumption that this must have been a student that was walking by Pelosi Center. And he comes back and he says, I have a number of an individual. This is allegedly the person who took the footage. And I said, do you know that person? Is this a UVU student? He said, no. And I said, well, where did you get this number from? And he says, well, on the day, there was a guy named Aaron who was walking around and was checking on people. And Aaron is the one that gave me this number. I don't know Aaron even, but like, he's the person that gave it to me. So then I said, can I have Aaron's number? He gives me Aaron's number, and Aaron also has a Chicago number. So I'm getting from somebody on the ground, and I'm getting from this person on Twitter that all of these Chicago numbers are involved, and that's not making sense to me. And I then tried to text that number of the person who allegedly shot the footage. We didn't get a response until today. We finally got a response from that person. I hop on the phone with him. He explains that it wasn't just him. It was one other person who he was walking with who saw this person run across. Neither of them are students of UVU. One of them said he was a student at BYU, which is Brigham Young University. And he's like, well, I didn't take the footage, but my friend took the footage. And his friend does not have a Chicago-based number. So I am confused. And we ask if he'd be willing to send us the footage and to get us on the phone with the person who actually took the footage. I had a conversation with that individual after all this running around, hence the reason these episodes take so long to put together, because you're calling people, you're waiting for responses. And what he said to me completely betrays the narrative of what the FBI has put out. I am working to quadruple confirm exactly who this individual is, but he was a very much, and maybe this is a poor way of saying it, a straight shooter, said, yes, I have training. And I don't want to give too many identifying details here, but this person himself has a lot of experience with guns and knows guns and, helps to train people in that sort of a capacity, and said that they observed that individual, the FBI saying that the shooter dropped onto the roof at 12:15 didn't make sense to him. He said earliest it was 12:22 that the individual ran across, set up, took the shot. And I said, well, you must have been there, because he then sends me I wanted to see all of the metadata of when he took that footage. And the metadata begins at 12:22 and goes into 12:23, the very minute that Charlie gets shot. And he says, yeah, I saw the shot. I had just stopped recording about 20 seconds before the shot rang out. And he said that he told them a description of what the shooter looked like. And it was not the description that the entire world received less than 24 hours later of this person, Tyler Robinson, wearing jeans. I said, was he wearing jeans? He said, no. Actually, this person was dressed in tactical gear and he was wearing a face mask. And he said, according to him, and like I said, he has a lot of experience with guns, that this person looked to him like a foreign agent. I don't know if he's wearing all black, how he got that, but he said he was very certain that this person was skilled, knew exactly what he was doing, and was highly trained, like a highly trained assassin, so to speak. Okay. He then says something else. As soon as George Zinn got arrested and that started circulating, he ran to someone on campus and said, this is the wrong person. I observed this person with my eyes. You have the complete wrong description. The person you're looking for is wearing tactical gear and is obviously young, because I watched him sprint back after taking the shot. I saw this with my own 2 eyes. And for whatever reason, that never made its way out that we can see of a description of a person wearing tactical gear. We're kind of left with this idea that he was wearing the now infamous veterans shirt with the American flag on it and some jeans. So he also said something that we had not heard, which is that he knows guns, and the gun that the FBI found was not the gun that he saw, that the gun that he saw was smaller. And I'm going to read you directly a text message that he sent me, again, protecting his identity. He said, watching the video of the impact, hearing the sharp crack instead of a big hunting rifle's boom, and seeing what looked like a shorter rifle platform, albeit with the absence of the shape of a standard 30-round magazine, the assassin may have used a 10 or 20-round magazine, only expecting to shoot once or twice. I would guess that he was shot with a Hornady V Max or similar lightweight 223 bullet designed for very rapid expansion. Of course, I don't have access to any autopsy reports like you might, but if they found small shards of copper rather than one large copper-coated lead slug, that's the gun and bullet I would expect was used. So I wanted to share that because I know that a part of this entire thing was our upset at kind of being taken for a ride by the FBI. It makes no sense to me that they wouldn't share those details immediately while this manhunt was taking place. We got every other name and basically every other description, and we're told nothing like what this person who says that he was an eyewitness, he was the eyewitness to this, and that he went right in and said all this information. Why wouldn't you share the eyewitness report that you received that completely counters the narrative? And I would say, again, assuming this guy's story checks out, and it seems to me that it did, and he sent us the data, and we looked at the metadata that he was the person who took that video, it doesn't make sense to me. It literally makes no sense to me that they would obfuscate these details when they're speaking to the public. So, yeah, like I said, we are exploring every lead here, and I just found that to be quite stunning. I don't know what to make of all of this. I guess what we make every single episode is the fact that they're just lying to us about everything, about literally everything. Anyways, you guys, I want to get to some of the responses and answers that were given by Andrew Colvett, who is the PR agent for Turning Point USA. He sat down with Alex Clark and addressed some of the things that have been going viral, particularly as it pertains to taking down the footage in the minutes following the shooting, having somebody on their team take down that footage. You might be curious as to what he had to say. First, I want to throw to some of our sponsors. Preborn. I've watched too many people who I'm close to be vilified for standing up for truth. I've felt the sting of injustice, but I've also felt something else, which is courage. I think most of us are done playing defense. We don't want to water down what we believe to be palatable, because silence is not kindness. It's actually just consent. And right now, the greatest silence surrounds lives that are being ended before they even take their first breath. If we are going to call ourselves defenders of life, then we have to act like that. That's why I'm asking you to join me to fight back with action, with truth, with love for $28. That is what it costs to give an ultrasound, a free ultrasound, to a woman that is in crisis and considering an abortion. Just $28 will help her see the life that is growing inside of her and give her truth that the culture won't. So you shouldn't sit this one out. You shouldn't wait for permission. You can be just as bold and as clear and as unapologetically pro-life by heading to preborn.org/Candace right now. You give $28. You can also give 10 times that if you want to. This is the line that we should defend and stand on, standing for truth, standing for what is right, and saving lives from abortion, standing firm in the gospel. Again, it is preborn.org/Candace to provide an ultrasound for just $28. Also want to tell you guys about Cozy Earth, because you work hard, you fight for your family, your values, and your future. So when the workday ends, your 5 to 9 should be about one thing, which is comfort. That's why I love Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth is on a mission to make your evenings and every moment that you spend at home the most comfortable part of your day. Their pajamas and loungewear are made from premium, responsibly sourced viscose bamboo. They're soft, breathable, and temperature regulating, which is why I can't go a night without using them. Cozy Earth offers more than just clothing. They have perfected their bubble cuddle blanket. Their blanket offers a combination of comfort and style with its distinctively textured bubble design, intricately woven from ultra soft fibers. These blankets are an absolute must. You should have them in your home. And just so you know, Cozy Earth stands by their quality. Their blankets come with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Plus, their apparel is backed by a lifetime guarantee. So yeah, they mean it when they say that it is made to last. You can head to CozyEarth.com and use code Candace at checkout for up to 40% off your new favorite pajama set and blanket. So if you get a post-purchase survey, you can let them know that you heard about Cozy Earth right here. CozyEarth.com. Use code Candace and you will elevate your downtime with Cozy Earth. All right. So Andrew Colvett, obviously, he's been a topic of discussion. He did the Charlie's show with him. And so he sat next to Charlie throughout all of that. They were very close. He's also the PR agent for Turning Point USA. And he's also the one that issued the statement, therefore, about what is now being termed the other magic bullet. And magic bullet being the first one, JFK. It kind of seems like when the government might be involved, you know, bullets tend to have magical properties. Anyways, I've said yesterday, his job is pretty tough, and it's made even tougher by the fact that if he's told to say something, he has to say it. That's just how it works in PR. And I'm sure there are lawyers involved as well. He went on to the Alex Clark podcast. Now, it was kind of billed, I think people were expecting, but actually Alex Clark never did say that Erica Kirk was going to be the one to answer questions pertaining to Charlie and to clear up some rumors about his personal life. She teased that, that you were going to get unfiltered answers to burning questions like, quote, was Charlie converting to Catholicism? Again, I have no idea who said he was converting to Catholicism. I feel like it's like intentionally misrepresenting what was said. Also, she was going to answer, did he take $150 million from Israel? Again, not something that we said on this show. And again, like I told you, they're going to address the SD cards. Now, I was very clear. And I am still kind of shocked by the reaction from the evangelical community. It was totally it didn't make any sense to me. A, because Erica's a cradle Catholic. I said Charlie was attending the mass because he was. I said Charlie was praying the rosary because he was. And I said that as a Catholic, of course, I was egging him to take the next step. Who wouldn't? Of course you want, whatever your faith is, if you're evangelical and someone's thinking about converting, you're going to want to egg them on. That totally makes sense. And it wasn't said in an evil capacity. I said the joke that I said to Charlie, take the next step. You're too smart to be a Protestant. That's a descriptor of our relationship. We were like brother and sister. It's said in humor and in jest. Hey guys, I was Protestant like 5 minutes ago. So I felt like people were looking for reasons to be offended and wanted somebody to come out and slap that down and say, no, he wasn't attending the mass, and, kind of caging this like it was a war for Charlie. It's like, no, he never took the first step in converting, but I think going to the mass and praying the rosary, obviously it's going to get Catholics excited. Anyways, let's start with that. Andrew's response to the Catholic question. Take a listen.
Was he becoming Catholic?
No, but he really loved Catholic mass. He loved the ritual of it. He loved the beauty of old Catholic churches and the stained glass.
And him and Erica would go sometimes.
Yeah, well, Erica's a cradle Catholic, but she ended up kind of like me. I grew up Catholic and First Communion and went to Catholic high school, but then I ended up becoming a Christian in college through a Protestant church, through a non-denominational kind of more
Catholics are
experience.
Christian.
It was actually Presbyterian, and then it was kind of non-denominational. And I think Erica kind of follows that same path. She and I share that.
Also, by the way, I just want to draw attention to, she's posted a photo of her and Charlie and the kids in mass before, and somebody in the comment section said, oh, are you guys converting? And she said, no, we just like attending sometimes. So she herself had said no.
Yeah,
publicly.
and I think Charlie, one of the things, Charlie really hated worshiping in like a gym, or some sort of kind of blank space that you just turn into church. There's no problem. He didn't have a problem with the act of that. He just didn't prefer it. And he loved, again, the ritual, the ancient, feel of a Catholic mass, and the fact that everybody around the world that was worshiping as Catholic, he loved that. So he had some really big theological hangups with that. You can go check the videos out, him debating with Michael Knowles, in good fun. I mean, they were dear friends, but they loved kind of debating the whole Protestant versus Catholic thing.
So I didn't lie about anything. And yeah, he was attending mass. And so usually if you are ritualistically attending mass, meaning he liked the ritual of it, I'm not sure what that means. Like, I don't understand what we're doing. It just feels weird. And to say he converted to Christian, Catholics are Christian. So, he said, like, I think Andrew said, I converted to Christianity. I went from being a cradle Catholic. And yeah, there is no question that Erica and Charlie were attending the mass. And that's what I said. And I said that he was praying the rosary. And there's no dispute there. I never said he started converting to Catholicism. I said that the Catholics were kind of thinking, take the next step, Charlie, take the next step. And I don't think it was just architectural for him, far be it from me, to speak on behalf of whether he was just attending because he liked the architecture. I think it was a little deeper than that. And I agree that he did have some hangups, but that's kind of when you make that thing of like, he didn't really like having church in a gym. That's a step, right? So for me, that was a step where I was going, okay, like I want something that feels a little bit deeper. It's a journey. Nobody was trying to start a Catholic versus Protestant war. I just shared something about, my final conversations with him. And a lot of the conversations were about faith towards the end. Yeah, that's it. Not a big deal. Anyways, then they get to the second portion of something that I didn't say. Nobody said the number 150 million, or I didn't say the number, Tucker didn't. I don't know where the 150 million number came from. If I'm being honest, I said 150 million was what Bibi spent on Operation Mocking Pastor. Now, the way they're going to answer this question about whether or not Charlie was offered money, Israeli money, is interesting. Take a listen.
Was Charlie offered $150 million from Israel?
As far as I know, no.
I had never heard anything like that. Everyone I've asked has said the same thing.
And by the way, just for what it's worth, it doesn't matter the amount that would have been coming down. We would have said no.
And there's evidence that is true.
Turning Point does not, Charlie would not accept foreign money.
Exactly.
We only took American money.
Yep.
There was money sent to us, like practically in multiple instances where they're trying to cram it down our bank account. And we said no. We canceled like money wires and things.
No foreign money, and also no handouts from the government. During the pandemic, 100%. He refused to do mass layoffs that everybody else in the country was doing. Said no to the whatever that check was. What was that they were handing out? Stimulus check.
Yeah. The PPE loans, right? I always get PPP and PPE mixed up, but yeah.
But it was a good amount of money that at the time we could have used.
Yeah.
He put out a company statement saying, this was tempting for sure, but we're going to say no.
Yeah.
I mean, he was very principled in that way.
He was extremely principled, especially on foreign money. I remember moments we'd be at like an event, and some foreign people would come up and like demand a meeting or try and get a meeting with Charlie, and Charlie would look at me and go, deal with them, get rid of them. Like, just, I don't want to talk to them.
Okay. So there is this thing called FARA, and every country, if they're going to influence people, if you're Qatar, if you're Iran, and you want to lobby on behalf of those countries, you have to be registered under FARA. So we know where that money is going into. If you have, literally stands for foreign agents registering, right? If you have foreign agents in America that are working on your behalf, we would be able to see that. But there's this magic carve out for Israel, right? So when you say, like, was he going to take Israeli money? It's kind of a working around it, right? Do I think that in the Turning Point accounts, it would have said Bibi Netanyahu wants this money to go to, probably not. Do I know for a fact that there are foreign agents working on behalf of Israel that give money to Turning Point? Yes, they do. The question is whether it's Bill Ackman, whether it's Bob Shillman, whether it's a ton of the donors who write big checks and are pressuring him to say stuff. Was a large sum of money offered to Charlie Kirk to take Turning Point to the next level, not that it wasn't a very high level, to the next level, with the guarantee that he would represent their current perspectives and the things that were going on. And did Charlie Kirk refuse that? I maintain what I said, that happened, and Charlie turned the money down. I hope that makes sense. I do want to add on to that I do have concerns, and maybe concerns is not the right word. I have rather hopes that Erica, who is taking on this huge step of being the chairman and the CEO, that she has someone in her corner that she really trusts. And what I mean is that I am not equipped to be the CEO of my little tiny company, okay? And I've realized that how much it involves for to understand accounting, to understand how people can create LLCs, a spinoff of LLCs, how money can be hidden and pushed into different directions and into vehicles that you don't understand, takes a person that is sort of trained to have that business mind. I am grateful that my husband has that business mind. I just don't actually even care to have that business mind more than anything else. Not that I couldn't learn it, but I know with a company at that size, Erica is going to really need to have someone who is very much in her corner. It breaks my heart that she doesn't have Charlie. Charlie would be exactly the kind of person. Like it's the beauty of a partnership, and they had a beautiful partnership. But I worry. I really do worry, and I just wanted to express that openly to you guys. I'm concerned about that for some reason, and I guess the best thing to do is just ask everybody to pray for Erica. You know, pray that she has the clarity to understand and have people around her who are being honest with her. Because I would not want to be in her position right now. I would not want to be in her position because where there is money, money naturally breeds snakes in the garden, and it's very difficult to keep the grass cut low when the yard is that expansive, so to speak. Anyways, they then address the SD cards, and here is what Andrew had to say about the Turning Point affiliate, employee, somebody adjacent to Turning Point, who removed the SD cards from the camera that was behind Charlie in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. Take a listen.
Why did our team start taking down cameras immediately? Was it just in shock and just thinking like, this is what we do and just not thinking it's a crime scene?
I think massive shock. I think there's been some stories about the SD cards or whatever. That was because even in the shock, there was an understanding that the proximity of those cameras were A, going to be evidence, and they wanted to make sure they didn't get stolen out of the cameras, but B, they didn't want anybody to run in. I mean, there was those videos of the kid running and grabbing the hats.
Hats, yeah.
So there was an understanding. I mean, I talked to the team on that, and they said, because we know people can be evil.
Yeah.
And they grabbed the SD cards so that nobody could get that footage.
So that law enforcement could get it.
Did I answer your Maha question sufficiently? Yeah, okay. He loved Maha. Well, he loved Maha moms too.
I think I would have probably pushed back and asked, okay, but now that, you know, the feds have kind of been fumbling the ball just a little bit, a lot of it, maybe just release everything and let the sleuths get on it and solve this thing. And that's kind of what I want. I want them to be more passionate about getting to the bottom of things a little bit. Am I maybe being selfish by thinking that if I was close to him as Andrew Colvett every day on the show, I would be like more fired up about all the things that are going wrong? And again, I appreciate that they also have to then turn this next page, and they still have donors. They still have the same donors that were making financial threats against Charlie and blackmailing him, in his own words, by the way. He said that he felt morally blackmailed by them if he had disagreements, and they were trying to control who he could speak to and who he could be friends with. And actually, by the way, we have a clip of Alex and Andrew speaking about that moral blackmail. Take a listen.
There's this great clip when we were in Myrtle Beach, and he got asked if, you know, from somebody in the audience, if he was going to, you know, debate Candace or, you know, disavow Tucker. And Charlie's answer I thought was amazing. I remember he came off stage. He's like, "Do you like that one?" And I was like,
he would always ask that for reassurance.
Yeah. He always loved like, "Did you see that? Did you listen?
Yeah. Do I look good? Was that a good clip? Do you think that'll go viral?"
Yeah. And I remember saying like, "Yeah, I thought it was amazing. It was morally so crystal clear." And he basically said, "I don't appreciate being morally blackmailed." And, you know, and every time people would say that to him, he would dig his heels in. It's like, well, maybe Tucker's going to give 2 speeches now at MFest.
And that is the truth. We told you he said the same thing about when he was in the Hamptons, that he was feeling like he was morally blackmailed. He was telling people that he was digging his heels in further and saying, "I'm going to bring Candace back." You know, you guys kind of bullied this ending. And by the way, that clip he's speaking about, I actually just saw it. It's from August, so the month before he lost his life. And here is Charlie in his own words about how he was feeling.
How is your relationship with Candace Owens nowadays?
She's a great friend. You know, look, I don't agree with everything Candace says, but you know what I don't do? I don't stop being friends with people just because people morally blackmail me. I don't do that, and you shouldn't either. Look, I have different views on things as Candace. I have different views on Israel than Candace. I have different views on a lot of geopolitics. But honestly, I traveled the country with Candace. I went to her wedding. I saw her meet her husband. I went to Israel with Candace, which is a fun story I'll tell you at some point. But what I don't like is when people demand, you must stop being friends with somebody. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a left-wing tactic. Don't do that. I'm not saying you do that, but other people do that. We should never resort to that. In fact, if you believe what I believe, shouldn't you want me to be friends with people that don't agree with us? Shouldn't you want me to also be a tool of influence? And so I think the world of Candace. She's a great mother. She certainly has very, very fun opinions at times. And she's a great talent. She says a lot of stuff that sometimes I don't agree with, but that's what makes our relationship and our friendship interesting. My advice to all of you, you might not like somebody, but never tell somebody like me to stop being friends with somebody on an interpersonal level just because of disagreement. It's bad. It's what the left does, and we should rise above it as conservatives. Thank you so much.
Charlie was a very loyal friend, and I'm going to continue to be a loyal friend to Charlie. I can't stand it. I cannot stand to see the lies that are being told. The people that are intentionally taking things that I say out of context, people that were trying to pretend that Charlie and I weren't friends. It is maddening, but I know that God never gives any person more than they can handle, and I can handle it. And I am handling it. And I want to get to the bottom of what was going on because I know he was under a tremendous amount of pressure. And like I said, I am hopeful that Erica will speak out more thoroughly. I know she's got so much to worry about right now. I mean, chairman, CEO, and still has to be a mother. Pray for her. Just pray for her because it is a huge burden to have, and she'll get through it. She will get through it because she has faith in the Lord. I also want to get to this story because I want to tell you guys we are winning in a very big way, a lot. I think the awakening that's happening right now, left and right coming together, and I do want to shout out my lefties here because I felt like I was one of the only people on the right who was anti-vax before it was cool. Like none of my kids were vaccinated, and people thought it was wacky. But before I got there, the lefty moms, left stream moms were actually the ones that were like very on it with like, what's in these products? And that was like a weird place that I didn't kind of fit in conservative land, being like vocally anti-vax, and took a huge risk in doing our Shot in the Dark series that's available on our website. I think it's the most important series for any parent to watch, whether you decide to do vaccines or not do vaccines. Please be educated. Get educated about each vaccine. You will be shocked when you learn the history of them, how they came together. Maybe not so shocked post-COVID, but you will, I think, be very shocked at how much they lie and delude. And we have all of this fear-based reaction to, in large part, accepting what is poison. And so Trump coming out and making a statement and calling this stuff poison and putting out a list of things that don't need to happen, I'm like, wow, is he watching A Shot in the Dark? Has Trump signed up to CandaceOwens.com? Is he watching? Is he wearing a CIA hat and watching? I think so. And here's a statement that Trump made.
We want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and all the three should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem.
I'm going to go to ads after
so
this.
There's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, oh, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country.
I want to say this. The reason the government is coming out and saying this, if you have not been following the news, parents are pulling their kids out of school. I really, if you want to talk about a true turning point, and I said this a few episodes ago, I hope that what happens is that the world wakes up to the fact that the evil is taking place in the classroom. The reason why they are coming out and admitting some of these things is because they're fearful that they're going to lose. And I'm talking about the evildoers in this world, the psychopaths that have been poisoning us for generations, the people that have made America fat, the people that are putting Monsanto. They hate you. They hate me. For them, this is a religion, okay? And they wish to poison our offspring, their bodies and their minds. I want to be very clear. Both the bodies and the minds of your children are what they want. That is the one resource that they wish to own. It is our offspring. They poison our minds. That's why they want you to either abort your offspring. If you have your offspring, they want them to be fat, addicted to drugs, filled with pharmaceuticals and vaccines. That's the reality. And we have to say that, we have to declare that boldly, because now they want our speech because people are waking up. But what you're seeing Trump say is a reaction to the amount of moms that are pulling their kids out of the public school system. And I want to be clear, not just public, private, okay? We began the process 3 weeks ago, of taking our kids out and realizing that we have to be radical because the psychopaths that rule the world are radical. And if you want to take ownership and actually invest in a better future, we have to be in control of exactly what sort of an education our children are receiving, okay? And everything that is wrong in America and that is wrong in this world is because we gave the government domain over our children. So if you want to be a radical, get your kids out of these schools. You can figure it out. That's what I want to say to you guys. You can figure it out. They make you think you can't. We are in their matrix. Let's get out of the psychopathic matrix. So I'm excited because that is really it's a sign of the times. It means parents are fighting and we're winning. And the government is on notice. And now they're like, hey, what if we lax up? Not 1 inch, not our kids. All right, guys, before we get into some of your comments, I want to tell you about Sauna Space, because when you are a mother with kids and you have a nonstop schedule, you're still expected to look good, feel good, and function without losing your mind. And that is why I am obsessed with Sauna Space. You've seen those red light panels that are trendy, but this is totally different. It's the glow infrared therapy light from Sauna Space. It helps with screen fatigue, and it's amazing for your skin. In the morning, it's like natural sunlight, warm, comforting, and it resets your body clock. And at night, it helps you relax and get ready for a seriously deep sleep. You can even use it as pain relief on the sore muscles or cramps if you have them. And the real game changer is their Firelight sauna. It's portable and it's powerful. You're getting red light therapy and an infrared sauna all in one. It's your personal wellness sanctuary. Plus, it's a handmade here in the USA with pure organic materials and zero EMFs for the ultimate detox. Sauna Space spent over a decade perfecting their Firelight spectrum, and thousands of studies support the benefits. In the Firelight sauna, you will sweat hard. It's deep detox. It's faster healing, better sleep, glowing skin, serious relaxation. It even boosts your immune system. So if you are a busy mom like me who's ready to take 20 minutes a day back for yourself, check out Sauna Space. Head to saunaspace.com/Candace and use code Candace, and you'll get a special 10% discount. Again, that's saunaspace.com/Candace. Use code Candace at checkout. Also reminding you guys quickly about American financing, because you know the cost of everything is still out of control. Many of us are relying on credit cards to cover the essentials. If that debt is piling up, you're not alone. Americans collectively owe over $1 trillion in credit card debt. You might have considered reaching out to my friends in American financing, but maybe hesitated because you don't want to give up your low mortgage rate. Well, there is good news. They've created the Smart Equity Loan, which is a solution that's designed to help you take control of your finances without touching your current mortgage. Unlike a HELOC, which can have varied interest rates, the Smart Equity Loan offers a fixed rate, which means one predictable monthly payment, giving you the peace of mind. This loan allows you to leverage the equity in your home to pay off high interest debt, free up your cash flow, and keep your existing low mortgage rate intact. It only takes 10 minutes to get started. There are no upfront or hidden fees. So call American Financing and start saving now. The number is 800-795-1210. Again, 800-795-1210. Or visit americanfinancing.net/Owens, americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, you guys, let's get into some of your comments. What is on your mind? What else should I be looking at? John Heinschel writes, wow, thank you so much for that donation, John. The question I have is, why now? From an LGBTQ person. Charlie has remained consistent there. It just makes no sense. His public views on the genocide and Netanyahu, however, are the things that changed before his assassination. Yeah, I never accepted the Fed slop. That's what I call it, just Fed slop. The whole message is Like I said, MAGA, my dad's extra MAGA. That's supposed to make people that are on the left go, oh my gosh, see, it's because of MAGA dad. It's like so ridiculous. And then on the right, you're supposed to go trans. It's a trans person. We've talked about this and da-da-da-da. And like, I just knew spiritually as soon as I found out that Charlie got hit that this was bigger than that. I just knew, and I maintain that. And I think now everyone who maybe were going to accept the Fed slop now appreciates that everything they're telling us makes entirely no sense. And they're lying. Like, they are lying about a lot. And there's only one reason to lie. It's because you have something to hide. So I say, just be transparent. I don't trust people that don't just release and speak about everything if they're being deemed suspicious. Like, transparency and honesty, it makes everything easier. That's why, like I said, I have no qualms about anything that I've said on the show because I don't lie. There's no benefit. What do you get? What's the upside of lying about something? And so, yeah, I think they are finding out, and we have remained very committed to getting to the bottom of this. Jenna V writes, thank you for fighting so hard for that precious human being, Charlie Kirk. He was amazing. I mean, I could say it 1,000 times. There truly would not be me without Charlie. And I know that I held his head up during tough times. You know, when you are climbing and fighting through politics, that early phase, and you're unknown, you go through a lot of really tough times and you're tired. And similarly, he held my head up during a lot of tough times. And like I said, reading the messages of me, whether we were sick, tired, we just always made it work. And he built that company. Charlie built that company. And I don't know why, but it just sickens me to hear any lies or misrepresentations. It just makes me so angry. But I know that that's something that I have to deal with. My choice emotion, I guess that's my vice, is I always have to pull myself back consciously from wanting vengeance. And I don't want vengeance right now. I just want Christ. Christ is king because Christ is truth. And I want the truth about what happened. And we're not getting it at that moment. Miriam writes, British Muslim here. Love the work you're doing, and I so stand by the point that this is good versus evil, slaves versus the elites. Yes, you are amazing, and I keep you and your family in my prayers. Thank you for praying for us. Truly, the prayers work. They are working, and I needed them a lot last week. I feel better this week, which is one thing. I feel more focused in this in many ways, and it, like I said, it arrived to me when something that I really needed to hear when Erica said that it was quick. That was eating me up inside, like not knowing that answer. Previously, Temp writes, they didn't kill Charlie, only his physical form. Of course, Charlie lives on with the Lord our God in heaven forever and evermore. Yeah, we know that, but it doesn't. You just miss the person. You know, that's what I haven't accepted yet, is that Charlie Kirk is actually gone from this earth. Like, that just makes me really sad. It just makes me really sad. And sometimes the sadness, like I said, just turns into anger. And I know that will kind of, it will change with time. I know that you're never a year on, however you feel, a year on, it will be better. And so I hold on to that. Carl writes, my wife and I love your show. Gang, gang. Thanks for always asking questions. You've opened a lot of people's eyes up to the obvious that lying that is going on around us. That is the point of this. I did an interview earlier with a journalist, and she kind of said, what do you think, podcasting getting big, what does it signify? It signifies that we don't believe the establishment anymore. And the establishment seems to be growing more radical, and they want to control speech as if that's going to make us believe them more. It's a nonsense, a terrible idea. Mary Kelly writes, I love you, Candace. You are my Joan of Arc. Prayers for you and your family. Flame of love, rosaries. Thank you so much for that. Chris writes, do we know who paid for the crime scene demolition, the pavers that were so quickly put down? Normally, universities don't have expendable cash. Our rosaries are with you in prayer and mass. Thank you so much. John 12:23, he ends that with, we love you. And that says that's from Michelle. Maybe it's Michelle and Chris. I don't know. That's another path that we could pursue. I feel like I thought it was the feds who did that. I could be incorrect. A feeling is not a fact. So I will explore that. That's a good question. MC writes, there is a call on the police scanner after Charlie got shot saying they were looking for someone wearing jeans, a black shirt, a black mask, and a black vest carrying a long rifle. I heard that. I need to go over that scanner. And then they took that scanner when they realized that 3,000 people had suddenly tuned in. They decided to privatize everything. But that is true, which is why we naturally have to ask the question, why did the public never hear that description if you only had one eyewitness testimony as to what that person was wearing. And we know that you have clear footage. Obviously, you have tons of clear footage. Why didn't you release it? Was it because we were going to see somebody in tactical gear that looked foreign? Or we were going to be able to identify the person further and realize that it wasn't Tyler Robinson? I maintain that Tyler Robinson is one piece of this, and a lot more people are involved. And I don't have to maintain that anymore by myself, because Kash Patel has signified that that is so in his long message that we spoke about yesterday, his long tweet that we spoke about, where he sort of cops to the fact that nothing they're saying at all makes any sense. Milana writes, "Hi, Candace. I wait for your live every day and dread the weekends. What curriculum do you recommend if I were to homeschool my kids?" Okay, so we are first doing a trial curriculum for the first time next week. So I will let you know. We're kind of editing it and making it our own, using a classical mixed in with Montessori approach because of the age of my children. And obviously working in our faith, starting with a morning prayer and trying to say, okay, what can we teach them? Because I have found that my son really loves mass, the portions of mass where he knows what's going on. So I'm like, well, we need to do more of that. And obviously we go to the Latin mass, which makes it a bit trickier for him. But I'm like, well, why not? Can they learn a Latin prayer? So I wanted to get involved because I'm still a young Catholic student in many ways and teach them that, because it would be, you know, also an opportunity for me to learn as if I was a preschooler. So we are still working on that, and I will definitively share all that information publicly because I want to inspire moms to take their kids out of schools, all of them. I want you, if you're listening and you're on the fence and you're like, I know spiritually I shouldn't be sending them there. There is a communist underground in this school. What they want your kids to do is to do drugs. They want to get them addicted to pornography and screens, and the effort is to turn them into slaves. Take your kids out of all of the schools. That would be my advice. Lastly, Lover of Light writes, "Thank you for all that you do. I know this is a serious time, but don't forget to share some of those funny personal stories, like your daughter forgetting her makeup. Love you, Candace." Yeah, she is. That one's got quite the imagination, my daughter. My favorite thing that kids do at this age is the filibuster. If you think congressmen are good, you got to try to get a toddler to sleep and try to leave their room and the things that they come up with. And recently she told me that her hair hurts. And I said, "Sweetie, I don't think that's a thing." And then she just sort of went, "Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll move on from that." Anyways, yeah, it is another thing that always gets you through really tough times, obviously, is you just be around children. They are such a light. They really are such a light in this world. And I want everyone to have kids, and I want them to have lots of them, because I know the government doesn't want us to have any. Yeah, they want to make our tribes smaller because they want to rule over us. And anyways, we'll have more for you tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you then.